I want to talk to you today about Proverbs chapter 11, verse number 2. Proverbs chapter 11, verse number 2, the Bible tells us this: "When pride cometh, then cometh shame, but with the lowly is wisdom." I want to tell you today that God hates pride. God hates arrogance. The Bible tells us that pride cometh before destruction, and a haughty spirit before a fall. And the Bible warns us over and over again of the dangers of having pride. You see, pride is what really threw Lucifer out of heaven. He wanted to be higher than God. He wanted to be number one. And see, you and I, with the pride of life, God calls that an abomination. When you and I elevate self over God and everyone else, and yes, even as Christians, we can be guilty of the sin of pride. The sin of, I want this to happen. I want to be the leader in my life. I want to do this. It's my way or the highway. When we develop a prideful attitude, it breaks the heart of God. But he tells us here that in verse 2, "But with the lowly is wisdom." I'm reminded the book of Peter and the book of James both talk about humbling ourselves before the mighty hand of God, and how He will lift us up. That we don't have to lift ourselves up, but He lifts us up. He exalts us because He loves us that much. You see, it's not our place to lift self up. It's our place to lift the name of God up. To lift what Jesus Christ did on the cross of Calvary up. It's not our place to lift self up. But he says, draw nigh unto God. Humble yourselves before the mighty hand of God. Realizing that without Christ, you and I are nothing. Without the finished work of Calvary, without grace and mercy and who we are in Christ Jesus, we are nothing. There is nothing for us to boast in except boast in Jesus Christ. When we look at ourselves in the mirrors, guess what? We're looking at sinners saved by the grace of God. We don't deserve heaven. We deserve a devil's hell. But Jesus Christ paid the price for you and I. And he says right here, "When pride cometh, then cometh shame." As I quoted earlier, pride cometh before destruction, and a haughty spirit before a fall. Yeah, you'll have a great time for a little bit in your pride, but guess what? There's a fall coming. There's destruction that will come. It may feel great to elevate self. It may feel great to have control of your life and to put God in the back pew and to say, "Oh, I've got it all under control." But guess what? One day you'll be brought down to your knees. You'll realize that God has to be number one in your life. As a personal testimony in my own life, when I was in Bible college, I was an arrogant little man. I tell you, I was legalistic. I was judgmental. I was critical. But you know what? I experienced life after Bible college. God had to humble me and help me realize that, guess what? That attitude is ungodly. It's wrong. Realizing that Doug Dillard was a sinner. Realizing that I'm nothing without Jesus Christ. That I have no place judging others, condemning others. I have no place to have this "I'm holier than thou" attitude when I also have a sin nature. And that I'm nothing without Jesus Christ. Do I still struggle from time to time with pride? Yes, I do. And God quickly reminds me that doesn't work. It brings destruction. It brings shame. Arrogance and a prideful attitude, they don't build up, they tear down. But I'm thankful that with the lowly there is wisdom. That with the humble, with those who truly are a living sacrifice for God, that there's wisdom. that God gives them wisdom. And the book of James tells us that if we ask for wisdom, He will give it to us. But do you think He'll give it to us and answer that prayer if we are prideful and arrogant? No. He's going to give wisdom to the humble, to those who truly desire to use wisdom in a godly way. I think of Solomon. See, at first, Solomon, he prayed for wisdom, and he had the right spirit about it. And I realized later on in life he made some mistakes and he was prideful, but he learned from those. But when he asked for wisdom, he had a humble spirit about it. He had the right spirit, the right attitude of how he wanted to use that wisdom. You see, truly with the lowly there is wisdom. My encouragement to you today is this. If you're battling pride, you're battling selfishness, you're battling arrogance, that you would ask God to help you with that. Because it does nothing but hurt and destroy and tear down. And ask God to teach you humility and compassion and a love for Him and a love for others, that we would have the mind of Christ. And dear Christian, remember this, that pride brings destruction and a haughty spirit brings a fall. But with the lowly is wisdom. Make that your desire. Make that your earnest desire today. Thank you.